I am excited to have this one because it's probably one of the most common questions I hear from a sales development rep or an AE that want to take the next step in their career. And that's, how do I become a sales leader? What is required of me? And so I'd love for us to start there in from your perspective, somebody who's been in sales leadership for over 10 years now. How do you get your job?
Yeah, I love the question. It makes me think of some of the best advice that I've ever heard, and I think is important to consider when you're asking yourself, "Do I want to become a leader?" You know, a lot of times people consider leadership as a natural progression in their career path, and although it seems like it's aspirational, I think it's important to consider what it means and the type of career that it can be for you, and your personality and your skill set, and what you can bring to the table. So I think it's always good to consider. And again, the question that I always ask myself when I'm trying to decide which direction to take my career is, what am I doing in my day that makes me enjoy my day, right? Like what are the things that I'm doing that actually excite me and motivate me throughout my day and my process. And once you can pinpoint what those things are, you start to build a picture of, like, how can I replicate that? How can I do more of that? And so for me, when I started out my career as an individual contributor, I hadn't really thought too much about leadership at that time. I was more concerned about just being really good at my job and trying to make a good impression and try to deliver great results, right? And as a result of working through that as a salesperson, I started to gravitate towards the things like, feeding a line to my neighbor in my pod around, like, a good way to approach a call, or providing feedback to the other person if they ask for it, taking that new hire who just came on board and really just guiding them along and having them just really having them understand, so that the trials and tribulations that I went through, and what they can work to replicate or not replicate, right? And I found that those are the things that I really started to enjoy doing. And once I discovered that, I kind of felt like sales leadership was potentially the path for me. So the whole concept around coaching, right? Coaching and teaching is something that I had to realize is something that I truly enjoy, and is more rewarding for me than actually closing a deal, right? So I think, like, the first step in becoming a leader is understanding what you enjoy doing, what excites you, what motivates you. If it's putting your head down and scoring goals, then probably being an IC is the way to go. If you like getting the assist, then maybe coaching is more along the lines of your career trajectory. So to me, that's the first thing. Once you kind of establish that, hey, this is where I want my career to go. There's obviously a lot that needs to happen that maybe you haven't really considered, like as an individual contributor, in terms of identifying your sales process, right? Identifying, like, how to do my job more effectively and more efficiently, and being able to diagnose your business. Because really, as a leader, you're always diagnosing things. You're always trying to figure out where's the gap in the process, whether it's my reps or whether it's how I run my team. You're always just trying to figure out, like, where's the gap? How can I improve it? How can I be more efficient? How can I optimize? And I think, like, if you are an aspiring leader, start to do it with your own business. Start to self-diagnose. Start to understand what your process looks like. What are the data points? How do you get from A to B? What's everything that's involved? And where's the break in the chain, right? So I think there's a few things that you can do as an individual contributor to start to build that skill set of diagnosis and understanding how to really just optimize the way you do things. So those are a few things that I think about when I'm trying to give advice as to whether or not leadership is the right path to go. How do I start to think about leadership? And then from there, it's about, depending on what organization you want to be a leader at, there's obviously a bit of a game that's involved, right? There's a little bit of a understanding, who are my mentors? Who am I going to learn from? Who are the top players from a coach perspective that I can really learn from? And then just the same as becoming a strong individual contributor. Like you really want to pick the best players in the game and try to create your own way of doing things. And it's just as important if you want to become a leader. You have to know who the strong leads are and understand how to replicate those things and create your framework, create your leadership style before you even become a leader, just by learning, right? Because if you do have a chance to become a leader, you're going to go in an interview and you're going to be asked the question, what is your leadership style? How do you perceive leadership? And you need to take that mentorship and you need to take that guidance. You need to be able to create that framework before you even have the job, right? And so that's why it's important to look at your own business and start to compartmentalize those things, and even just start doing the job before you have the job. And that could be taking on a team lead role within your team, and you're doing some of those coaching activities before you even have the title, right? So taking that new hire and try to figure out, okay, and not just doing it, but thinking about how you're doing it, right? How am I taking this new hire and how am I helping them and support them and giving them the tools that they need to be successful, even though it's probably my manager's job, but like if I want to do the job, like you have to think about those things before, right? So I think it's just the mindset and the frame of thinking, I think is what a lot of reps can start to do a little bit differently in terms of just thinking about their own role and trying to apply the things that they haven't done yet as a leader into that role, if that makes sense.